Hi there and welcome. I'm Jason, and what I have to share with you right here is how to put together your very own succulent orchid pumpkin. Now, this is a tradition that I do. It's something I make every single year, and I just wanted to walk you through how to put together your very own. I have some other videos on how to do this. In this video in particular, I just want to kind of walk through everything really fast and just kind of show you how to assemble and also care for your succulent orchid pumpkin in one video. So, you want to start with your materials. So select a pumpkin. I've selected one already. I've actually already started this so that we could kind of speed up the video and kind of, I can just show you how this all is assembled. So I selected a pumpkin. I like a whimsical looking pumpkin, got one of those. What I did is I have my hot glue gun. It's all heated up. I have it plugged in. And treat those like candles, so, when you're going to use it, obviously plug it in, heat it up and use it, but then make sure that you unplug it when you're done, because it's heated metal and glue and electricity. You just really want to be careful with that. Anyways, so I have actually already applied moss and some of the materials. As far as the orchid selection, I recommend using the small ones. I've used larger orchids on orchid pumpkins, and they've done good. They'll definitely last, over the course of an event. If you're doing an evening event and you want to have big orchids on top of your pumpkins, you can do that. But the smaller ones seem to last longer. So I always use the smaller ones. What I've done here is, the first thing I did on this is I removed the plastic sleeve from the orchid, and I glued it directly to the pumpkin. That was the first thing I did. So this plastic is glued straight onto the pumpkin. So you glue it in an appropriate spot where the orchid will stand right side up. Then what I did is I added glue to the pumpkin, and I added moss over that. And then I added a couple figurines. I like figurines. These are cats. And then I added some of the succulents. I've got this already started. What I've also done is I've cleaned my succulent cuttings and let them dry for a couple hours until they're completely dry. And so I have those, and I have some moss and some scissors, and here we go. So as far as your orchid, I want to walk you through really quick how to take care of this. So the only maintenance on this pumpkin is the orchid. Don't spray the moss. It's not alive. It's not going to absorb the water and utilize it. Just, when you glue the succulents onto the moss, you're done. As far as the orchid, you're not done. So what I did is I lowered the lip of the sleeve by just cutting, a little bit off the top of it to make it shorter, so that this, fits nicely in there, and some of it's, coming out around the top. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use succulents and moss to mask it and camouflage it into the pumpkin. As far as care, once every week or every other week, it really depends on how hot and cold your house is. You kind of want this to be relatively moist at all times, and you want it to get a little bit dry in between waterings. You don't want it overly soggy. So the way that I water this is, it'll be in your pumpkin like that. You just take it out. And then what I do is I run some water over it. I fill this little cup, this pot that it came in, with some water, and just let it soak for like 10 minutes. And then, I dump the water out, kind of let it dry a little, so that I'm not putting a soggy orchid root ball back in the pumpkin. Anyways, I place it back, and that's how you're going to care for it. This should last a while, a couple months. So nevertheless, let's get started. So I've essentially just glued the moss on. I've glued the cats on. Now we're going to glue some succulents on. And not as many, because I've already kind of done this. So you want to have an open work area so that you can just cut and then glue and apply your succulents as is. And you're going to want to do this in a decorative way so that you can kind of mask this little orchid pot, because you really don't want to see that. You want it to look like the orchid's kind of growing off the top of the pumpkin. And this is always fun. I absolutely love having these in the house every October. This will last through November, sometimes even December. Pretty cool. As far as your succulent selection, just use different colors. If you have cats or dogs and you're worried about them eating them, they're not for eating, they're ornamental. But echeverias and aeoniums, especially aeoniums, they do a little better in lower lit situations than echeveria. But both Aeoniums and Echeveria succulents are a little on the safer side when it comes to the toxicity ratings of the succulent cuttings. There are a lot of succulents that do have higher toxicity rate than what I'm using here. I'm using mostly Aeoniums and some Echeveria as well. And Aeoniums are usually the ones with the longer stems on them. And you kind of see like sometimes the under canopy of the leaves like dries out. And then, you know, you just pull those off as far as maintaining Aeoniums. But Echeveria tend to hug the ground a bit more. They don't always, but they do a lot of the time. And these come together relatively quick. Once you have all your materials ready and you're ready to start snipping away and getting these together. And I like to stagger the colors, you know, do a little green, a little purple. One thing I've also used before is, and it's really fun to use, is succulent flowers. If you happen to have any of your succulents in bloom, what you can do is you can use those flowers and they'll last like, you know, a week or two, which is pretty fun to have like orchid flowers coming out of your succulent pumpkin. It's like it's as though it's blooming. And what do we have here? And I just kind of snap them. I don't cut and then, you know, let it scab over overnight. I've never had to really let these heal overnight. They seem to do just fine with the cutting them here and now. But as you can see, since I had already started this, we're about done almost. And you can always add more succulents. If some succulents don't make it, you know, you can always replace them and put more new succulent cuttings in there. And all right. So there we go. It's done. So this is a succulent orchid pumpkin with some cats. One's taking a nap on it, as you can see, and the other one's kind of climbing up the pumpkin. I think that's fun, you know. I have a cat. I love cats. But yeah, and so all you're gonna need to do is water this once in a while. And when you water it, just remove it from the succulent pumpkin. It just comes right out. And you're good to go. You can also do these in different sizes. I have a couple here I've already done. This is a dragon that I like to use on smaller pumpkins every year. So you can use different pumpkins of all different sizes to make these succulent pumpkins. But yeah, this is a succulent orchid pumpkin. If you have any questions about the assembly of it or the care for it, please let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed and you like updates on my newest videos, please subscribe. And once again, thank you so much for hanging out. My name's Jason.